Beautiful people, and welcome to my channel. If we haven't met yet, my name is Jennifer Diamond. I live a whole food, plant exclusive, sofas free, gluten-free lifestyle for health and well-being. And today I'm going to show you how I make potato crust veggie pizza. So the first thing you're going to want to do is cook some potatoes. Now you can use any potatoes with this. Yukon Gold, russet potatoes, even sweet potatoes. Today I'm going to go ahead and use some of these Yukon Gold potatoes. They're organic, and the reason that I like these so much for this recipe is for two reasons. One, they're really creamy inside, and two, the skin is very thin. You can peel them if you want. I'm going to leave the skin on them. But if you're using a russet potato, maybe consider peeling that one and even mixing them. So you have some of these and some russets. That would be great. Or if you maybe just have some sweet potatoes, go ahead and, mix those in with some of these. It really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do first is, this is about 3 pounds of potatoes. I want to get 6 cups of potatoes for this, and it's going to give me a nice cookie sheet size tray when we're done. So depending on what kind of size you want, you can adjust. And so the first thing I want to do is pull out my Instant Pot, and I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off. I have just the regular insert here. I'm going to go ahead and pour some water in there. Got some clear Berkey water, at least a cup, when you're doing this with the Instant Pot. And then if you don't have this basket, it's a wonderful basket that fits perfectly in the Instant Pot. My Instant Pot is a 6-quart. You can use in an 8-quart. I'm not sure if this fits in a 3-quart, but it probably does because it isn't very tall. At any rate, I'll link it in the description in case you're interested in this, but you don't need to have a basket. You can certainly use the trivet that it comes with. And so I'm just going to put the washed and clean potatoes in the basket inside the Instant Pot. And I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on, plug it in, and get it going. So you always want to put it in at 11 o'clock. I'm going to plug it in. Now it says it's on. I'm going to redo that because I want you to hear the buzzing. So you put it on at 11 o'clock. Now you know that it's in place. I'm going to put the venting to sealing so that it keeps all the air in there. And then I'm going to go ahead, so it really depends on the size of your potato. If they're gigantic, it's going to take longer. You could cut it up into smaller chunks. That will always speed up the cooking time. For these medium-sized to small potatoes, I'm going to do, say, 18 minutes. You could probably get away with 15 minutes. You could go as far as 20 minutes. The thing about potatoes is that they're very forgiving in the Instant Pot. So depending on your side, you can adjust the time. All right, let's get going. So I'm going to go over here, and I am going to put it to 18 minutes. And then I would let it do natural release, but if you didn't have time, you can go ahead and do quick release. And so there you go. So while it heard my instructions. It's telling me, okay, boss. So we're gonna just let that do its magic on the side. And in the meantime, we're gonna start to prepare some of the other things that we're gonna need. So the first thing we're gonna need is some sauce, because once the potato crust is ready, we're going to want to add our sauce. And today I'm using this organic Mural Glen tomato sauce with no added salt, and this one is a 15-ounce can. Really, for just doing one pizza, probably half of the can is fine to use. So you could either open it and mix it with all the different herbs and spices that we're gonna use, and then freeze it for another time. Or sometimes I just take the leftover and I put it measured in an ice cube tray, and I know that these are each a tablespoon, and I just need to pop them open and put them in a another sealed, you know, we use Food Saver, but you can use a Ziploc bag or whatever for future use. You write what it is. And so this is ready to go, and you could be ready to go for next time. So I'm gonna move some of these toppings that I have here out of the way as we are going to focus on sauce. This is a great can opener that I love, OXO, and it's just so easy to use, and I really enjoy simple tools in the kitchen. So I'm going ahead and opening this up, and then it's got a little thing on the side here. Whoops, if I grab it on, it just allows me to lift this up, and there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pour about half of the can in there and save this for future. And so you could just use plain tomato sauce, but you could also spice it up. So let's pull out some spices and mix it in here, and let's see what we have. So you can use some granulated garlic or fresh garlic, which I happen to have. And I'm gonna put over here on this side. And I'm gonna use both of them, but for this sauce, you could use either. I'm gonna go ahead and use the granulated one, and I'm gonna use a teaspoon of this, or 1 clove. Pop that in there. And then we're gonna go ahead with some onion powder, also a teaspoon. Everything I use is a teaspoon, just to make things simple. If you like it, you want more, add more. If you're not a fan of that one, skip it. It's all forgiving. We're also gonna add some oregano. Now, maybe you don't have all of these spices, or maybe you just, you know, have Italian herb. You can put just like a tablespoon of Italian herb in here instead. Now, I like to use Italian herb, I just happen to be out of it right now, so I'm using these. But any of these flavors will really bring up the flavors when you taste the tomato sauce. So I think the last thing I'm gonna add is some basil. There we go. And now we're just going to take a spoon and mix this up. Now I don't eat salt, but if you wanted a salt substitute, you could certainly use one. Sometimes I use a couple different ones that I really enjoy, and one of them that I have right now is the Well Your World's Galaxy Dust, and I think I'll put some of that in here, just for fun. And then just stir it up. That's it. Now, even if you put the fresh garlic in, you would want to mince that fresh garlic in here. And I will be adding fresh garlic to other parts of this. And there you go, look at that. The sauce is ready to go. So we're gonna put it aside for now, and then we're gonna move on to some of the toppings. Now, the toppings, I'm gonna use, you can use any toppings you want, any vegetables, they're all amazing. So some of the ones that I already have chopped and ready to go, I'm using some red bell pepper, and I'm using some onion. You can use any color pepper, you can use any color onion, it doesn't matter. And then I also have here on the side some garlic, and that's a clove that I minced by just chopping it finely. So that's ready to go. I'm in addition going to add some mushrooms. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these mushrooms down the center, and then I'm gonna slice them this way to help me have smaller pieces. And then where the stem was, I might even just consider doing that, so that they're a little bit more uniform and easier to top on a pizza. They're not rolling around because they have been cut and there's this flat surface. And so there you go. And I want to do about a half a cup of each one of the toppings for this size pizza, but that's just a general, you know, you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want. Mushrooms, you can use any mushrooms. These are the white button mushrooms. I tend to rotate. I like to use the cremini. I like to use oyster. I've been known to use trumpet mushrooms. I mean, any mushrooms that you want are great, and you can use more than one. You can use whatever you want. So that's what we're using today, and so I'm gonna put that aside, and then I'm gonna add some zucchini. Who doesn't love a zucchini? You can use the green zucchini like I have. You can use the yellow summer squash, any squash actually. And I want to just do this, you know, cut the little tip off. This has been washed, and I'm going to actually put this in my freezer for future veggie broth scrap collections. And I will link a video to that so that if you haven't seen how I make vegetable broth, you'll be able to do that. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna probably just use half of this. So I'm just gonna cut it in half, and I'm gonna cut it down the middle, and then I'm gonna roll it, and then I'm gonna cut it down the middle again so that we have these 4 slices. I'm gonna put them together, and then I'm going to slice them down the middle. I don't want these too thin. I don't want them too fat. And the reason why is because if they're too thin, they might get kind of like mushy. And if they're too wide, then they might also need more time to cook. So that's what we're doing. And I'm gonna guess that this is probably a half a cup as well. Now, this purple kale is wrapped up in a clean towel. It's already been washed. I've got my little rubber band, and that was on some of my produce at one time, and I collect those, and they're considered my special gift that I get from purchasing fresh produce. So I'm just gonna take out, this is the purple kale that I have. I'm just gonna take out a couple leaves, and maybe I'll just do 1 for right now. I mean, okay, I'll do 2. You can do the entire thing here, the entire bunch. It's not too much. With the kale, you want to usually take this stem off, especially with the green kales and the dino kale. The purple kale, you can eat this stem. So it's up to you, but if you want to take it off, I'm going to show you a quick tip. So you just take a little bit of the tip at the end off, and then you grab it right here, and you pull the stem off. There it is. When you have these long ones, you know, you can have these really, sometimes I get these really long stems, and if I have enough of them, it can almost be something that I put in like a flower vase or whatever, but actually I'll put it in the freezer for veggie broth. At any rate, I'm going to go ahead and do it again with this one. Sometimes they get a little stuck, but there you go. And so I can go ahead and chop these finely so that I can add them just to show you. Or let's say you didn't really want the stems in here, cut them up and put them in your salad. You can even add them to a smoothie. They're wonderful. All right, so that's going to be enough of that. And now I'm just going to take some of this kale, and I'm just going to chop it up also. There we go. Look at that. So now we've got everything ready to go. So with traditional pizza, if you're using cheese, you just take the raw vegetable and you put it on top and can arrange it how you want and put it in the oven, and then with the cheese and everything, the oils and things, they get them to cook. What I've found when I don't cook with oil is that if I take this and put it directly on the pizza raw and stick it in the oven, it tends to be roasted, right? But it tends to have more of a dried flavor, and it doesn't remind me as much of traditional soft vegetables on pizza. So what I do is I dry or water saute it in the pan that we just took out, and I pre-cook it, right? And then when I add it to the pizza toppings, when pizza topping time comes, and cook it in the oven, then it's just exactly the way that I like it and remember. So either way works. I'm gonna show you this way. I'm gonna go ahead. I started the fire. I've got it on high right now just because I want to heat up the pan. And then we're gonna go ahead and get those in the pan and start to let the juices and the magic happen. Now, I just want to talk about these toppings. These are basic toppings. And anyone can, and you can use any topping that you want. Another one that I really enjoy are artichoke hearts. And so I sometimes buy artichokes that are frozen in the freezer section. They do carry them in jars. You can buy them in water and or oil. Even the water ones for me, they have a preservative, and so I used to buy those. I've gotten away from them, and I really enjoy having the frozen ones. And I'm gonna just to show you, I'm gonna see if we have any. Hang on. We do have some. In fact, we have a lot of different things that I thought, well, we have a minute. Let me just show you. So these are the artichoke hearts that I get at Trader Joe's. They're frozen, and they do say artichoke heart citric acid. Oh, bummer. Well, that's what they are. And so I can take these out and just chop them just a little bit. In fact, why don't we do that? The other thing that I thought I would show you is maybe you don't have time or you don't want to cut things up. Buy them frozen. I could add frozen cauliflower that I get at Costco. I have a little bit in here that you can't even tell what it is, but I'll show you. It's peppers, bell peppers, cut up frozen, and even mushrooms. These are shiitake mushrooms. So you could take all the frozen stuff and take it out and put it in the pan as well. So let me go ahead and put this away, and we're gonna add this little bit of artichoke heart and get it all in the pan. So whatever it is that you like, maybe you like eggplant, whatever. Now, you could even put fruit. Yeah, pineapple. I know my adult children like some of them like pineapple on their pizza. And these are frozen, so I just want to cut them a little bit. I actually have one adult child that is allergic, so she would not want pineapple, but you know, you could do whatever you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a little water test. That is a hot pan, a very, very hot pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting in all the goodies here. And I'm just putting it all in at once. You could space it out if you wanted. You could do the onion first and then the mushrooms and then the rest. But I'm just gonna do it all at once. I think I'm gonna add the kale after it goes down just a hair or two. So the thing is, you wanna make sure that once the pot is, or the pan is heated, that you bring down the heat, and you wanna move the vegetables around because that helps to prevent it from sticking as the natural liquids come out, especially in the mushroom, and some of the frozen artichokes that we added will have a little bit of water. And then you could even cover it and just make sure that it's down, and then we're gonna add this in just a moment. Now, my husband, when he eats the pizza, he likes totally different toppings than me. And the toppings that he uses are toppings that, you know, I don't prefer to use because they don't meet my needs. But if you have other people in your family that are transitioning, maybe these would be good ideas. And so he really likes adding black olives, which I do too, but because of the sodium, I try not to. So we'll slice up some black olives for him. And he does like to use some store-bought vegan cheeses he's been interested in. One that he's been using lately, trying, is the Miyoko's, and I can link it in case you're interested in it. Let me show you what it looks like. This is Miyoko's pourable plant-based, plant milk mozzarella, it says, and I guess you just shake it up, and it's cashew milk, filtered water, sunflower oil, tapioca starch, sea salt, mushroom extract, sunflower, and just a few other ingredients, and some cultures. So for me, it's got oil. It's just not a good one for me, but for him, it's perfect because he is transitioning and he's trying to eliminate as much dairy as possible. So if this is something that you're interested in, or you know of someone in your family that might be interested in trying it, it's kind of strange because it's liquid. So you pour it on, and then when you cook it in the oven, it kind of browns up, and he says that he likes it. Anyhow, just a tip. And I just want to show you what this is looking like. I just added the kale, so it's not wilted, but you can see that there is some liquid at the bottom. Let me move some of this, and you can see how things are starting to break down. So we're just gonna keep letting it do its thing. You don't have to add anything. You could just use the plain potato, but spices really make things taste wonderful and actually have benefits to our body. So what I'm gonna add is, I'm gonna add some rosemary. I already put it in here, and I like to grind it up with my mortar and pestle because I like it to be very fine. So I have a good teaspoon of ground rosemary that's ready to go. And then I'm also gonna add some garlic. I think I'm gonna use the fresh garlic this time because we use the powdered garlic. So maybe I'll do 2 cloves because these are tiny, but you know, I think can you really ever have enough garlic? I mean, you probably can, but I just love garlic. So you can put a few cloves of garlic in there. And so I'm gonna go ahead and smash these, take the little skins off. I can use this in my broth. Some people prefer not to use the papers on the onion or the garlic because they think that it tastes a little bit bitter, but I don't notice that, so I'm fine to use that. And then this one has, look, it has like a little bad spot, so I'm just gonna shave that off. No big deal. And I'm just gonna give it a rough chop. So if you have Italian seasoning, go ahead and put some Italian seasoning in it. If not, you can just do some other ones, depending on the flavor you're going for. So I have the fresh garlic here, and I'm just gonna chop it just a little bit more. So the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add, well, I have the fresh garlic. Hey, I might just add some other garlic too, some more granulated garlic, and I'm gonna do a teaspoon of that. I've got the rosemary. I'm gonna do some onion powder. And I'm gonna do some oregano. Now, maybe someone you know likes spice. You could certainly use some spice. You could use crushed red pepper flakes. You could use, you hear that? The potatoes. The timer's over, so we're gonna just let it natural release for a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna open that. But going back to finishing the spices, you could add any kind of jalapeno or serrano pepper, and you could even chop those up and put them in the sauce instead of the potato crust. That would be wonderful. Basil is great in here, although I'm running low on basil, and since we already put it in the sauce, I'm not gonna put it in the crust today, but normally I would say, yeah, put it in there. And that's it. So we are ready. We're gonna set these aside for now. I'm gonna check this. Oh yeah. Look at that. So it's just broken down enough to where if I put it in the oven, it's just gonna give me a nice texture. And I could stop at this point, or I could let it go a little bit longer until we're actually ready for it. And I'm gonna take a look. It looks like it's been 1 minute. So for the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and release this and check and make sure that our potatoes are cooked. Now, one thing that I didn't mention regarding the sauce, I just wanna pull that back out for a minute. Here's our sauce. Something that you could either add to the sauce or you could sprinkle on top of the sauce is some pepperoni spice, which I really enjoy. And I get this from local spicery. It's, I'm trying to think let's see, what is in here? Smoked paprika, chilies, mustard seed, garlic, anise seed, fennel, lots of different flavors that kind of taste like pepperoni. So that's something you could look at. And another one is nooch, which is nutritional yeast. I use this one from Well Your World. It's non-fortified, gluten-free, nut-free, vegan. And so it gives it kind of a cheese flavor, not a texture of cheese. So you could either add both of those in the sauce or on top of the sauce. I'm gonna do it later, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned you could put it in there. Okay, so this is done. Let's take a peek and check the potatoes. I love potato crust pizza. I'm so excited. Have any of you tried it? What are your favorite toppings? Do you want to try it? What do you do for pizza? If you're still eating pizza and it's not the traditional way, I'd love to hear about it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified when I post new videos. And leave a comment, give me a thumbs up. Let's chat about it. I'd love to hear your suggestions or ideas and questions. Okay, so let's open this. I always like to put the lid over it because anything that's in the lid, like moisture or condensation, will go right into there. And once again, we are gonna lift this out. There's still plenty of water because we added it. And oh yeah, that looks much better. So the next thing we need to do is I'm going to take this inner pot. Maybe I'll use a mitt. I'm gonna take the inner pot out and dump the water out, but I'm also gonna pull the cord out and turn this off. And I grabbed my potato masher. Just wanna make sure it's not hot. That's another thing about this. This cools off pretty quickly. And then I literally am just going to smash it up. So I just wanna see how many I have here because each one of these is about a cup, and I want to do 6 cups. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have like way more than I need. So I'm going to take half out actually and set it aside and smash half. Okay, so now that we have our potatoes in here, I'm literally just going to take my masher and smash them up. Don't have a smasher? Use a fork. If you let it cool enough, you could put gloves on and you could use your hands. That's fun too. So however you want to mash these up, this is what it's looking like. Nice and mashed up. And this is how you know that it's done, because this is so easy to mash. There was no, hesitation. It just went right through, skin and all. And you see what I mean about how these potatoes are kind of creamy? They're not really dry. so I don't have to add anything else. But if you're using a potato and you feel like, gosh, it's kind of crumbly, you could add either a little bit of water, a tablespoon at a time until you get the right consistency, or any kind of plant milk that you wanted. But I'm just gonna mash these up. They look great. So now that it's mashed up, I'm gonna be getting it off of this. Look at that. Because of the skin, sometimes it plugs it up, but that's okay. Just gonna scrape that out. And the next thing we're gonna do is add some of the spices that we put aside for the potatoes. As soon as I scrape some more of this out, because I don't wanna leave all the goodness in here. So we're gonna go ahead and add our rosemary. We're gonna go ahead and add the garlic, the fresh garlic, the onion powder. We also did some oregano. Anything that you put aside goes in now. Get all those goodies, a little bit stuck on there from the fresh garlic. So that's okay. And before I get stirring this up, I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my oven. Okay, so now I'm gonna get a spatula and I'm just going to mix this up with all the spices that we have in here. Just really mix it up nicely before we start to shape our pizza crust. And you wanna make sure you incorporate it very well, because you don't want, one of it to taste kind of just plain and then another bite and you're like, wow, I got all the flavors. So make sure that you just spend a good couple minutes or whatever and just make sure that it's mixed up really, really great. Okay, so I think that that's mixed up pretty well. And now what I'm gonna do is set this aside. Okay, so here's my cookie sheet. And I have lined this with parchment paper. You can use a Silpat or any kind of lining, but you should line your cookie sheet. And then you could measure it at this point and see how many cups you have, but I'm just gonna go ahead and add my potato mixture. Now, this is also another time that you get to taste, if you wanna taste, just to make sure that the flavors are good and that you're happy with everything. So let me just take a sample here. Wow, that's very strong rosemary. I might even cut back on the rosemary and add in more garlic. I told you I love garlic, but it's really good, nice and creamy. I love these potatoes. And so now I'm just gonna, you can use your hands, you can use a spatula or a spoon, and you just wanna press it down into the shape. Now I'm gonna do a whole shape here. You could do it in circles, you could do like little circles, you could do the whole thing and cut it into quarters. Any shape that you want will work. And the reason why you really want a shape, I'm gonna do some of this by my hands, is because we are gonna cook this in the oven, and then after that, we're gonna flip it and cook it some more. And so sometimes when you have a full one, it's hard to flip it. So if it's your first time, maybe cut it or have the smaller pieces so that it's easier on the flip part. Other than that, it's all good. So this is not too hot now because it's cooled off, and this is super fun to play with. And so I'm just gonna spread it out the best that I can, and I want it to be about, I don't know, maybe a ½ inch thick. Now, I've thought about using a rolling pin, but I never have. I just think that if I was gonna use a rolling pin, I would put a parchment paper over the top, because I don't want potato getting all gooed all over, and I certainly don't want to flour anything. But if that's something that you want to try, put a piece of parchment paper over the top of it and give it a try. And so I'm just going to continue to push the center over to the edges so that I can get the shape that I want, because you know, usually we tend to have it a little bit thicker in the middle, just naturally, because we, you know, put the big clump there. And so you can kind of move it over this way and have plenty. Or, I mean, I could always add some more. I have a few more potatoes in there, but smash them up. But then I'd put the whole thing back in there because I'd want to incorporate the spices and so on. So this should be great, though. Just be patient and enjoy it. It's fun. It's fun to play in food. I think it's fun to play in food. Okay, so now that we have this ready to go, we're going to put it in the oven. You're going to want to cook it for 20 minutes and then check it. And then cook it a little bit more if you feel like it needs. 20 minutes might be enough. You want to just let the top get kind of golden brown. You don't want anything to burn. And then we will flip it over. So we'll be back when this is ready to check on. Okay, so let's check. The timer went off. Ooh, now that looks good. Let us take a peek. Look at that. Wow. I could have even gone a little lighter on the cooking time. And I did up it a little bit because it wasn't as brown. So you gotta kind of decide where is the right brownness for you. And then you'll know based on the thickness, your oven temperature, and also your liking as to when to stop. So the next thing we need to do is actually flip this over and put it back in to brown the next side. And then we'll be able to add the toppings, heat it up, and we're good to go. So this can be a little tricky sometimes. And what I'm gonna try to do, I'm gonna put the hot pan next to it on my mitt. And then I'm gonna take the pizza crust and I'm gonna set it here. And you can see on my cookie sheet, there is moisture. And so that's what we're trying to dry out. So I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe that. You don't have to do that, I'm just doing that. And then what you do is we're gonna take the cookie sheet. You can either let this one cool or you can get a new one. And I'm going to try to, you could put a piece of parchment paper, another one on top, and then take the whole board and flip it over. And I have some extra pieces that I had pre-cut that I ended up not needing. So I'm gonna get another cookie sheet, mostly because that one is hot. And I'm gonna try to measure this one really quickly. But if you have a different way to do this, you know, let me know. But this is how I've been doing it, and it usually works out pretty good. So this is what we're gonna try. I'm gonna place it right on top of the pizza, and then let's see what happened. Okay, so it is a little stuck, so I'm just gonna gently take this bottom piece off that we originally were using. Oh, doesn't that look pretty? Pretty. And I'm just gonna adjust it a little bit. And I'm just gonna heat it up just enough so that it isn't sticky. And then we'll be ready for everything else. So I'm gonna put it back in the oven. We'll be back in a few. Okay, so it should be ready. Let's go and take it out and take a peek at our pizza crust made from potatoes. Wow, that looks amazing. What do you think? Look at that. Whoa. Okay, and so the next thing that we're gonna do is put our sauce, and then we can sprinkle some pepperoni seasoning and the nooch, and put our vegetable toppings on and plop it in the oven for another 15 minutes and eat it. So we're back. We've got the sauce, and there's a couple ways you could do this. You could just take this spoon and, you know, throw it on here and just kind of spread it around with the back of the spoon like this, you know. Or you can use one of these guys if you have it. This is a silicone brush, and sometimes I use that. So here's the thing with this pizza. You don't want to leave too much of the edge open. You want to really, you don't have to go all the way to the end, but you really do want to get as much of it, you know, covered with the sauce and everything, because that bite, you're going to want all the goodies on that, even that end bite. You know, I used to really like the pizza crust, but now that I make it this way, I prefer it all the way to the edge. So that's my recommendation, but you can try it however. I think it's just more common for, you know, if you've made pizza in the past, you know, the standard American way, that you kind of don't go all the way to the edge. So if you decide to make this, I'd be really curious to hear what your preference is. So I'm using all the sauce, and in the recipe I mentioned olives, and I mention olives because my husband is a big olive fan, and so if you made a pizza like this, you can also, just like any other pizza, do half of this kind of topping and half of that kind of topping. And so I threw that in there just as a reminder that if you're sharing it, you could do half of some things that maybe, you know, you might not be eating. Or sometimes I just want one olive and I'll cut it into 4 and that'll be it. It's one olive, you know. So anyways, now that I've got the sauce on here, this would be the time to add the pepperoni spice. And I like to do it on top at this point, because then you will be able to taste it more than if you had mixed it in. But you could mix it in, and you could also do it, you know, after you put the vegetables on. But I kind of like it this way. So I'm just sprinkling it on with my fingers. So as far as measurements, I think it's just to taste. And you can, you know, put some nooch on at this point if you were going to use that. I know I mixed it already, so I'm not going to. And that's ready. Wow. I'm going to just show you what these look like. So yummy. And I'm just going to grab some and just start putting them on here. And you just want to spread them out. So delicious. There you go. Look at that. Spread them out. And, you know, in our family, sometimes we share a pizza. And so if somebody else wants, you know, different toppings like olives or jalapenos or pineapple or, you know, anything different, spicy, you can just add those later and put it on the amount or the side. And so you can still share it, and it can still be just the way you want it. All right. And, you know, basically, you don't have to put this back in the oven. I like to put it back in the oven because I get everything kind of solidifies together and everything gets heated really nicely. But it's all cooked at this point, so you're all good. Oh, look at that. Yummy. Okay. So let me put it back in the oven, and I'm going to cook it just for another 15 minutes or so until it looks good and hot to you, and then we are going to top it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the pizza out and take a look at it. Wow, that looks amazing. Here we go. And I could leave it in a little bit longer if I wanted it to get a little bit more brown at the top, but this looks fantastic. So I'm gonna set this aside. I actually had made another one of these earlier in addition to the one we made together. And so I'm gonna plate that one and taste it with you. So here I have a few slices of our pizza. Looks delicious. And how I would do it is if I had a big salad made, I might fill this whole side with a beautiful salad with all kinds of greens, tomatoes, bell peppers, cucumber, radish, everything, anything. It all goes. You can even put hemp seeds on it, whatever. But here I have some local seasonal salad mix, which has all kinds of baby arugula and everything in it. And I'm literally gonna plop it right on there. Oh my goodness. The more the merrier. And then I can add some tomatoes, which I could slice up on the side, or I can put on top. And on the side over here, I could add some slices of orange or even some berries. I have some berries here. So it's endless what you could do. We could even put some right on top of the pizza. Look at that. And we can also have some on the side. And then I can just take some berries or any kind of fruit. Sliced apple or orange would be beautiful on this. And I'm just showing you. So there you go. And you can always come back for more, right? So let's taste this. Okay. Now, you could take a knife and a fork and cut into it. Or you can do like me. Where do I begin? Okay, here we go. Ready? Oh my goodness. Look at that. Mmm. Mmm. Yummy. Oh, I love it. Mmm. Okay, what am I tasting? First of all, the crust is perfect. And look at it, it's holding its shape. If you want to go New York style and fold it. It's got wonderful flavors. The sauce, everything complements it. I love the crunch of the salad on top. Mmm. Definitely a winner in my book. Wow. And I love, look at this crunchy piece at the end. Man, that's good. Mmm. Wow. So whether you use a fork and a knife or you just pick it up, it's tasty, delicious, filling. It won't harm you. So I hope that if you haven't tried something like this, that you go ahead and give it a try. Let me know how yours turned out. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. As always, you know what I say. Don't forget to eat your greens. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.